NASA just fed 3i Atlas data into Google's most advanced AI, and the internet exploded with conspiracy theories. Alien probes, hidden messages. But what really happened is way more interesting, and has nothing to do with extraterrestrials. Trust me. So the story goes like this. NASA took the data from this mysterious object in space, fed it into Google's super smart AI, and bam! The AI cracked the code, revealing the secrets of an alien civilization, right? Viral TikToks, breathless news articles, the whole 9 yards. But here's the thing. That story is pure science fiction, completely fabricated. But why did this fake news spread like wildfire? Well, the timing was perfect. Let's rewind a bit. Back in July 2025, the Atlas telescope system spotted something truly unusual. 3i Atlas, an interstellar object hurtling through our solar system. Now, this wasn't just any space rock. We're talking about a cosmic traveler clocking in at $130,000 miles per hour, barely 7 miles wide, and possibly carrying ancient water ice billions of years old. A relic from before our solar system even existed. And then you had Harvard physicist Avi Loeb, who, let's just say, fanned the flames by suggesting that its unusual orbit had a teeny tiny chance of being artificial. Alien tech, maybe? Suddenly, the internet was off to the races. So when people saw headlines about NASA and Google AI working together, well, the conspiracy theory just wrote itself. Wait a second, they thought. NASA has a new AI? They're studying 3i Atlas? It must be alien technology. But that's where the whole thing went off the rails. The real NASA-Google collaboration was happening in a completely different field. And honestly, it's more mind-blowing than any little green man. Here's the truth. Months before 3i Atlas even showed up on our radar, NASA and Google Cloud teamed up to build something called the Crew Medical Officer Digital Assistant, or CMODA for short. Forget space rocks. This was about keeping astronauts alive. See, the further you venture into space, the harder it gets to call home for help. Imagine you're on a mission to Mars. A simple question to a flight surgeon back on Earth could take almost an hour-and-a-half round trip because of the speed of light delay. Now imagine having a medical emergency in that time. You twist your ankle, feel a stabbing pain in your side, or lose hearing in one ear. Waiting almost 90 minutes just to hear, "Try ibuprofen" isn't exactly ideal, is it? That's where Google stepped in. They brought their Vertex AI platform to the table. NASA then fed it years and years of spaceflight medical data, astronaut, health logs, clinical scenarios, the works. The result? An AI that can analyze speech, text, even images to give astronauts real-time medical support. A digital doctor that lives on board the spacecraft. Now, here's where it gets really wild. NASA didn't just noodle around with this idea. They put it through some serious testing. They threw 3 common astronaut medical scenarios at it: an ankle injury, flank pain, and ear pain. Then, a team of doctors, including an astronaut, graded the AI across 4 key areas: patient assessment, history taking, clinical reasoning, and treatment planning. And the results? They shocked everyone. 88% diagnostic accuracy for ankle injuries, 80% for ear pain, 74% for flank pain. These results weren't just good. They were on par with human doctors, sometimes even better. Even Google's own Dr. David Crowley admitted they were blown away by the numbers so early on. Think about that. A machine trained on astronaut health data, diagnosing injuries and illnesses as accurately as seasoned doctors, and without even a physical exam. And here's why it's such a big deal. Space medicine isn't like Earth medicine. In microgravity, your body doesn't behave the same way. Fluids shift, bones weaken, cuts don't clot the same way. Even the equipment is limited. You can't exactly wheel in an MRI machine on the ISS, let alone on a Mars mission. So, for an AI to navigate all of that and still make accurate diagnoses, that's a game changer. But of course, the internet missed all this nuance. Instead, it mashed together two separate timelines: the discovery of 3I Atlas and the unveiling of CMODA, into a wild theory about AI decoding alien technology. The irony is that the viral conspiracy actually did NASA a favor. Usually, space medicine breakthroughs barely register outside of super niche science circles. But now, because everyone thought Google's AI was decrypting alien probes, millions of people accidentally stumbled upon a story about AI transforming healthcare in space. And in some ways, isn't that more incredible than aliens? Aliens are still just speculation. This is happening right now. An AI that's already proven it can diagnose astronauts with human-level accuracy in places where human doctors can't even be present. So when someone asks, what did NASA really find when they fed 3I Atlas data into Google AI? The real answer has nothing to do with comets or conspiracies. It's about a medical assistant quietly being built that could one day keep humans alive millions of miles from Earth. And that leads to the next big question. If this AI can achieve medical accuracy that even space doctors thought was impossible, how exactly did NASA and Google build it? What else can it do? And what happens when this system comes back down to Earth? The medical miracle. When NASA's chief flight surgeon first saw the crew medical officer digital assistant, let's call it CMODA, test results, he didn't believe them. 88% diagnostic accuracy on ankle injuries? That seemed impossible, especially for a system that couldn't even touch the patient. His first reaction was simple: run the trials again. Think about why this mattered. Traditional space medicine has always relied on human doctors back in Houston, who are able to review scans, perform physical examinations, and directly consult with astronauts through live video. A luxury when you're orbiting the Earth. Space crews send down reports, doctors give instructions, and the safety net works, at least in low Earth orbit, where communication is essentially instant. But on a mission to Mars, that safety net disappears. Now imagine an AI trained not just on medical textbooks, but on decades of astronaut health logs, achieving results that rivaled, and in some ways even exceeded, human doctors. For NASA, this wasn't just a technical milestone. It shattered the long-held assumption that only a fully trained physician could handle complex medical care in deep space. Dr. Shannon Moynihan, NASA's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, put it bluntly in one internal presentation. We've been planning Mars missions assuming we'd need highly trained medical officers aboard every spacecraft. These results suggest we might be able to provide expert-level medical care with just basic training and, crucially, AI assistance. And she wasn't exaggerating. The testing methodology was serious. NASA didn't just throw random symptoms at the AI and hope for good answers. They used the same evaluation system that medical schools use to decide if someone is ready to become a doctor: the Objective Structured Clinical Examination, or OSCE. This isn't a pop quiz. It's a rigorous test of clinical reasoning, patient assessment, history-taking, and treatment planning designed to mirror real-world medical scenarios. So let's talk about those scenarios. The ankle injury trial was, honestly, the most shocking. Volunteers described symptoms, and keep in mind, these were descriptions, not a physical examination. Pain descriptions, swelling, mobility limitations, and how the injury occurred. The AI, powered by Google's MedPalm 2 models, processed that language, cross-referenced the descriptions against its database of space medicine, and even analyzed uploaded images or videos the astronauts were able to provide. What floored NASA wasn't just the 88% accuracy, it was the reasoning. The AI asked smart follow-up questions, the kind a seasoned ER doctor would ask. Was the pain worse with pressure? Did the swelling increase overnight? And had the patient heard a popping sound at the time of injury? It could even flag subtle indicators of dangerous complications, things like compartment syndrome, which, if left untreated, can lead to permanent tissue damage. That wasn't a lucky guess. That was clinical reasoning at scale. And then came the ear pain scenario. Now, this one sounded almost unfair. How can an AI, without an otoscope or the ability to physically inspect an ear, accurately diagnose ear infections, barotrauma, or other inner ear problems? Yet, it reached 80% accuracy. It did this by leaning on the details. Was the pain sharp or dull? Was it accompanied by hearing loss, dizziness, or fever? Did the patient describe vocal changes or a clogged sensation? The AI pieced these patterns together into likely diagnoses. NASA's ENT consultants admitted they didn't think this was possible, but it was happening right in front of them. The flank pain test showed 74% accuracy. That might sound weaker compared to the other two, but the complexity of diagnosing flank pain is much higher. Differentiating between kidney stones, muscle strain, or something potentially deadly like an aortic dissection is hard, even for experienced physicians. But the AI got most of them right, and crucially, didn't bluff when it wasn't sure. Instead of guessing, it flagged the uncertainty and recommended extra monitoring or simple diagnostic tests that could be performed on the spacecraft. In IAD space, that honesty can literally save lives. A good human doctor will tell you, "I don't know," when needed. For the first time, so did a machine. So, what made this system so incredibly effective? NASA's team highlighted 4 big breakthroughs. First, advanced natural language processing. The AI didn't just parse symptoms, it understood nuance. Words like stabbing versus aching carried weight in its calculations. That ability to read between the lines, to understand the subjective experience of pain, is what separates a clumsy chatbot from something resembling a physician. Second, spaceflight-specific training data. Unlike most healthcare AIs, which are trained on millions of hospital cases from Earth, CMODA was trained specifically on astronaut health logs, space medicine case studies, and the unique protocols for treating illnesses and injuries in microgravity. It wasn't cluttered with irrelevant conditions that would simply never happen in orbit, which allowed it to focus its processing power on the relevant data. Third, multimodal analysis. This wasn't a text-only interaction. The system could combine speech, photographs, and even basic vital signs from spacecraft sensors. That blend of inputs gave it a richer picture of the patient's condition than words alone could provide. And finally, predictive risk assessment. The AI wasn't just labeling illnesses. It was predicting what might go wrong if nothing was done, suggesting monitoring schedules, and even triaging multiple issues if multiple astronauts were experiencing medical problems at the same time. When 2 seemingly unrelated medical problems were presented simultaneously, it consistently prioritized the life-threatening one. That's the exact kind of high-pressure judgment call that doctors train for years to make. Now here's something that actually boosted NASA's confidence in the system. Even more. The AI wasn't overconfident. When it wasn't sure about a diagnosis, it said so. It would say something like, possible kidney stone versus muscle strain, recommend hydration, monitoring, and follow-up if symptoms worsen. That humility mirrored the behavior of the best human physicians and ultimately made the system safer and more trustworthy. Dr. Emmanuel Urquieta, NASA's chief medical officer, summed it up perfectly in one line. This system isn't trying to replace physicians. It's providing physician-level reasoning in situations when physicians simply aren't available. And the ripple effects of this breakthrough are potentially massive. Training a physician astronaut costs roughly $15 million and takes 5 to 7 years of intensive dedication. If missions could instead rely on AI-assisted crews with only basic medical training, NASA could cut costs dramatically while still keeping astronauts incredibly safe. That's not just a budget win. That could make the difference between a 6-person crew heading to Mars and a 12-person crew potentially doubling the amount of research and work that can be done on the surface. Every seat saved is millions of dollars redirected back into the mission. But here's the kicker. This breakthrough doesn't just live in space. The lessons learned from developing CMODA are already spilling into Earth-based medicine. Think of remote Antarctic research stations, isolated offshore oil rigs, or disaster zones where hospitals are inaccessible due to conflict or natural disasters. If an AI can diagnose accurately in zero gravity with limited data, it can certainly help rural doctors with spotty internet connections or medics working on the front lines of a war zone. Google's team has even admitted that they're actively adapting the MedPalm 2 Foundation models, the same ones used for NASA, into broader healthcare tools for use right here on Earth. The extreme constraints of space medicine, no immediate access to specialists, no advanced equipment, only basic vital signs, force them to innovate in ways that make their AI systems stronger and more reliable everywhere. That initial shock that NASA doctors felt when they saw those test results? That's the same shock that frontline clinicians could soon feel when an AI catches something subtle that they might have otherwise missed, leading to earlier diagnoses and, ultimately, better patient outcomes. And that's why that viral story about 3i Atlas almost works as an unintentional metaphor. Everyone was distracted by the idea of alien probes and advanced alien technology. But the real alien-level breakthrough was happening quietly in the field of medical AI, something that will outlast comets, conspiracies, and clickbait headlines. Because here's the truth. When NASA fed 3i Atlas data into Google's AI, the E, results didn't prove the existence of aliens. They proved something far more extraordinary: that machines can reason about the human body in ways we thought only highly trained doctors were capable of. So, the real question isn't just whether AI will keep astronauts alive on Mars. It's what happens when those same systems start transforming healthcare back here on Earth. Will it make doctors obsolete, replacing them with sophisticated algorithms? Or will it finally deliver expert-level medical care to underserved populations and people who've never had access to it before? That's the revolution brewing right now, almost unnoticed, behind NASA's space program. And it ties into something much bigger: how AI is quietly becoming the backbone of exploration itself, not just in medicine, but in navigation, engineering, and even mission planning. So when NASA fed 3i Atlas data into Google's AI and the results shocked scientists, it wasn't just about proving the medical system could think like a doctor. That was only one piece of the puzzle. What most people outside the space community don't realize is that NASA has quietly built an empire of artificial intelligence. While the internet obsesses over alien probes and TikTok conspiracies, NASA has been rolling out AI systems across almost every corner of exploration. Medicine was just the opening act. The real story is that NASA now operates one of the most advanced AI infrastructures in human history, most of which came online in just the past 2 years. These aren't small research projects. They're mission-critical systems running on rovers, satellites, telescopes, and even inside astronaut training centers. Together, they form a hidden network of machine intelligence that is already changing how humanity explores space. Take mission control, for example. The iconic images of rows of engineers hunched over consoles, that's increasingly augmented or even outright replaced by sophisticated AI dashboards. These systems do everything from monitoring spacecraft health to predicting potential anomalies, freeing up human controllers to focus on high-level strategy and decision-making. The AI can sift through mountains of telemetry data in real time, identifying patterns and correlations that would be impossible for a human team to detect. This isn't just about efficiency, it's about safety. These systems can flag potential problems before they become critical, giving flight controllers the precious seconds they need to avert disaster. Then there's navigation. Guiding a spacecraft through the vastness of space is an incredibly complex task, requiring precise calculations and constant adjustments. NASA now uses AI-powered navigation systems that can autonomously plot trajectories, optimize fuel consumption, and even compensate for unexpected deviations. Think about it. These AI navigators are essentially self-driving cars, but instead of navigating city streets, they're navigating the gravitational forces of planets and stars. But the most mind-blowing applications are happening on the front lines of exploration. On Mars, the Perseverance rover isn't just a remote-controlled science lab. Thanks to machine learning, it can decide on its own which rocks are worth drilling into. That matters because sending a message from Earth to Mars takes about 14 minutes each way, making live instructions impossible. The AI on board has to think for itself, and it does, with staggering success. In one analysis, Perseverance's algorithms hit 94% accuracy in identifying scientifically valuable rock samples, outperforming many human geologists working under time pressure. Think about that. A machine on another planet is already surpassing trained scientists here on Earth. It's effectively acting as a robotic geologist, independently exploring the Martian surface and selecting the most promising samples for analysis. And it's not just about geology. The AI is also used to analyze images from the rover's cameras, identifying potential hazards and planning the safest route forward. This allows Perseverance to cover more ground and explore more diverse terrain than would be possible with human control alone. But Mars isn't the only place NASA's AI is working in the shadows. Back home, the Atlas telescope network scans the skies nightly for anything that might threaten Earth. We've all seen headlines about planet-killer asteroids, but what you probably haven't heard is that the first line of defense is AI. Atlas processes over 100,000 images a night, automatically flagging moving objects. It doesn't need humans staring at screens, it just spots them. This is the same system that picked up 3i Atlas, but while headlines chased aliens, the real story was planetary defense. NASA's AI is literally guarding Earth from impacts that could wipe out entire cities. It's a silent, watchful guardian, constantly scanning the skies and alerting us to potential threats. Earth observation is also getting a huge AI upgrade. NASA now embeds AI directly into satellites, enabling them to be smart enough to redirect themselves. Imagine a hurricane forming in the Atlantic. Instead of waiting for human operators, the satellite recognizes the storm and zooms in automatically. NASA calls this dynamic targeting, and it means satellites can capture disasters, volcanic eruptions, and wildfires in real time. That's a massive shift from reactive science to proactive planetary surveillance. It's like having a fleet of AI-powered drones in space, constantly monitoring our planet and responding to emerging events. Few people know about another project called Atlas, not the telescope, but an AI that acts like a living brain for NASA's archives. NASA has millions of pages of mission procedures and engineering manuals, but astronauts don't have time to dig through them during emergencies. So Atlas was built to answer questions in plain English and generate solutions instantly. In a Mars simulation, when a life support system failed, Atlas cross-referenced spare parts, identified repair procedures, and produced a full plan. In less than 3 minutes, something that would take human engineers hours. It's like Google search, except instead of trivia, the answers save lives. Even communication is managed by machine learning now. NASA's Deep Space Network, the radio dish system keeping spacecraft connected, is increasingly run by AI. Instead of humans juggling dozens of missions, AI decides which antennas point where, optimizing bandwidth and reducing conflicts. In short, AI has become the traffic controller for interplanetary communication. What makes this even more groundbreaking is that NASA isn't just buying AI, it's creating it. Because space is such a hostile environment, engineers can't just throw big servers at problems. They've developed hyper-efficient AI that runs on tiny chips with almost no energy. These same techniques are now being adapted for self-driving cars, smartphones, and even disaster response drones here on Earth. It's a testament to NASA's Ingenuity that the AI they developed for exploring the cosmos is now being used to improve life here at home. The ambitions are even bigger with projects like the AI co-pilot. The idea is that every astronaut will have a personal AI assistant tuned to their mission, health, and skills. It will monitor fatigue, recommend schedule changes, and even catch early signs of stress that mission control might miss. In one test, it boosted crew productivity by 23% and spotted psychological warning signs weeks before they became serious. Imagine being on a Mars mission, 100 million miles from the nearest hospital, and having an AI that notices something is wrong before you do. That isn't convenient. That's survival. It's like having a silent, ever-vigilant guardian angel looking out for your well-being. NASA's AI doesn't stop at health or satellites. It's being used to analyze Mars samples, detect organic compounds, search for exoplanets, forecast space weather, and even sift through gravitational wave data. It's becoming NASA's secret weapon across every frontier, from the soil under a rover's wheels to storms swirling on the sun. So, as NASA creates this quiet AI network to keep astronauts alive, discover new worlds, and protect Earth, what does this mean for the rest of us? Does it make exploration safer, cheaper, and more democratic? Or does it create a new technological gap where only those with access to NASA's AI control the future of space? That's the part nobody's really talking about. The alien headlines grab attention, but the quiet truth is that the real revolution isn't out there in the stars. It's in the algorithms running silently inside NASA's machines. And the future of space, maybe even humanity's survival on Mars, might depend on them. It's a profound responsibility, and one that we need to consider carefully as we continue to develop and deploy these powerful technologies.